Florida Republican Matt Gaetz. Now, I got to say, I was on vacation last week, but I did make a little time for this story. Florida Republican Matt Gaetz, in the midst of swirling reports of an investigation and allegations of possible sex with a 17-year-old and paying for sex with other women, says, "The swamp is out to drown me." This, he writes today in a right-wing newspaper, defiantly refusing to resign. But as Punchbowl News reports, other Republicans would love nothing more than for him to do exactly that and are taking potshots at Gaetz from the safety of off-the-record anonymity. Don't worry, report goes on to say Republicans will absolutely call for him to resign publicly if he is indicted and the charges include sex with a teenager. Melanie Zanona is a congressional reporter at Politico, where she's been helping cover this story. It's great to have you on. So there's the sort of investigation to Gaetz. There's his op-ed today, "I won't resign," and then there's his Republican colleagues. So first, let's just talk about the op-ed, which is sort of a bizarre document. What was your read on what Gaetz is doing in this op-ed?
To me, it looks like he's following the Donald Trump playbook when it comes to scandals. I mean, he's absolutely defiant. He is trying to muddy the waters by saying he's the victim of an extortion scheme and that he brought up this FBI probe, which is completely, unrelated or separate to the DOJ probe, I should say. And he's throwing out these red herrings, trying to blame the media, the Cheney political dynasty, the swamp, the Merrick Garland Justice Department, which, mind you, this investigation started under Bill Barr. Right. And then finally, he's trying to make himself into a victim, right? Comparing himself to Justice Kavanaugh when the GOP largely was on Kavanaugh's side in that instance. But it's clear to me what he's trying to do is win in the court of public opinion. But obviously, if he ends up getting indicted, it's not really going to matter what the public thinks or what his colleagues think, because he'll probably have a lot bigger problems to deal with.
Well, there's also, so this line caught our eye. He says, "You'll see more drip, drip, drip of leaks into the media from the corrupt Justice Department and others. When you do, ask yourself why. They aren't coming from me, they're coming from you. I'm just in the way." By the way, that's like a very common right-wing meme, that last thing. But just prepping everyone like there's going to be more stuff to come out seems to me like a person who's not confident, like we've passed over this portion of this story.
Yeah, and he also said, listen, I'm not a monk. I'm not perfect. His statements have been very interesting. Some of the other statements he said have been things like, well, I've cherished my past relationships, but I'm ready to get married to the love of my life now. So clearly he's being very particular with his wording, although I would assume his lawyer is probably telling his client to shut up, but who knows? But yeah, look, I think this is only going to continue to be a huge problem for him, and he's under a huge microscope right now. Yeah,
the wording of as someone who's, well, not formally accused, but reports of an investigation, the possibility of him as a 30-something member of Congress having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old that's minor, saying, like, I have never had sex with a 17-year-old, like the very specific years on the denials, right. Like a little just weird, kind of like a little alarm belly in my head when I read it. There's also the fact that, like, his colleagues don't seem like big Matt Gaetz fans, but also seem too cowardly to be very forthcoming about that.
Yeah, I think it's a mix of things. You're absolutely right. I mean, he does not have a lot of friends in Congress. They view him as sort of a showboater, and they don't take him very seriously. He has this frat boy reputation. Also, keep in mind, his district is very conservative. So if he does resign and step down early, like, there is no concern about losing that seat. Right. So Republicans, that's not a political calculation. But at the same time, Congress is on recess right now. I don't think anyone wants to be the first one in the Republican Party to call on him to resign. But I agree that if there is an indictment that comes down, like the floodgates, no pun intended, the floodgates are going to open for resignation.
Does that, you're reporting the story and can't predict the future, obviously, but like, does that seem likely to you? Like, what is your sense of what, I'm having a hard time parsing the level of seriousness we're looking at here from a criminal investigation standpoint.
Yeah, I can't speak to the investigation. Clearly, they are still knocking on doors. A Gaetz former staffer just said today that they were approached by the FBI last week. The staffer, of course, said, I don't know anything about these allegations and they're not true, they're baseless. But that shows that it is ongoing. I think he's in very serious jeopardy here, potentially. We just don't know quite what his exposure is. But there's lots of other things that have come to light, including I confirmed with two sources that he's been showing off nude pictures and nude videos of women on his phone to his colleagues in Congress. Another source sent me a picture of a box of empty condoms in the trash bin outside of his office. So just all of his behavior, all of his votes as a member of Congress are now coming under greater scrutiny in light of this DOJ probe. So even if he's not criminally in trouble here, I do think he has a major PR problem. And, that could really further damage his credibility, whatever credibility he did have on Capitol Hill.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.